has a PowerPoint. Going to walk down through it and do some introductions and that type of thing. Why don't you open it up and kind of lead us through? I'm just going to point a few things out as we go through. You can listen to Dawn and look at the screen. I think is probably the best.
Okay, just to begin, we just wanted to tell you all the purpose of this particular orientation is more designed to provide a visual perspective for new council members in regard to personnel, you know, our site locations, facilities that you may not be aware of. So, you know, as we get on down the road here, when we're in meetings and we bring up Musser Lane or U Street, water tank or something, that you'll have a visual of what it is, at least for now, knowing that a more formal and detailed orientation is going to be offered to all of you later this spring. The agenda for this evening is really just to, I think we're going to do borough staff introductions, have borough department highlights. We'll have our public works superintendent, wastewater treatment plant superintendent, police chief, and office of community affairs and so forth. All, you know, get up and say a few words and then show you the borough facilities. This slide here, you're not really going to be able to make it out as well, but this is essentially the organization chart of the borough up to date, showing the residents of Bellefonte Borough on top, and then the top square being Bellefonte Borough Council. Then you can't see it, but it shows our solicitor, treasurer, mayor, and chief of police, works down to the borough manager, and then gets down to the different departments in the borough, the wastewater treatment plant, all the employees there. The next one is public works, all the employees, current employees there, the administrative office, the planning, zoning, and harb and codes office, and then the police department. And then under police, down at the very bottom on the right, we have the Bellefonte Fire Department that we do include in the org chart.
I would just quickly say, you'll notice that the police department's under the mayor, under the state's borough code. That's how we're organized. If your home rule communities might be different, but under the borough code that we follow, the police department is underneath the mayor's jurisdiction. Council hires and fires the chief, and of course works with the hiring of officers, but the day-to-day operations are underneath the mayor under the borough code.
Okay, we'll start off. This is the first part where we just want to get some introductions and department highlights. So we can, Matt, if you want to step up and just introduce yourself, say a few words.
I'm the superintendent of public works. Oversee the water department, the street department. The water guys also do the sewer collections. We oversee the parks, and trying to think of anything else. Pretty much, and RCD, refuge department as well. We oversee them. So there's multiple facets of what we do. And Dave's the assistant superintendent. And yeah, it's a short, quick introduction. You have any questions?
How long you been doing your position?
My position, 6 years.
Well, you guys do a great job.
Thank you.
Absolutely fantastic job. Been an 18-year resident, same house. You guys do awesome work.
Good.
So
Glad to hear. It's good to hear some positive feedback. We don't always get that, but you know, take the good with the bad.
Yep.
But
I was happy to say that to you.
yeah, I appreciate that.
And I'll second that, because I had a water leak this past summer, and the borough guys came up and they discovered where it was, marked while the water line went through my property. They were there when the work was being done.
Yes.
They were great guys.
Yes, we do have a great staff. We're very fortunate. The guys that we have are very good and they're very dedicated. And yeah, we're happy to have them. Okay.
Thank you.
Dave, just let council know how long you've been with the borough and
Getting ready to start my 28th year, April 25th. I'll start 28th year.
anything on the water lines in the borough. Dave's the guy that we go to because he knows where they all are.
5 years in the assistant superintendent position. Rest of the time on the water and sewer.
Thank you. All right, Franco.
Greetings all. Frank Knoll. I am the superintendent down at the wastewater treatment facility just down the road. We have a staff of 11 employees down there, including myself and my assistant, Julie Brooks. We run a 24-hour, 365 days a year process down there, so we always have someone at the plant minding the store. We report back to EPA, DEP, Center County Conservation. We have to report back to a bunch of people. I'll put it that way. A lot of my job is reporting, so I could go in depth into what we actually do down there, but I think you all have an idea. And we would more than welcome to have you down there for a tour. I think you'll find it very interesting. There's a lot of money and effort put into the place, and we have a good staff also.
Thank you, Frank. Ralph, did you want to?
You want to introduce Julie first and then?
Yes.
No. Yeah, Julie Brooks, Assistant Superintendent Wastewater, and I've been here with the borough for getting closer to a year, not quite a year yet.
We're glad to have you, Julie.
I was just gonna say, I think it's where Don was going, the setting of policy and rates is now under the borough authority. It used to be under the borough, and then about 20 years ago, we were in some trouble with DEP. And long story short, we decided it's better for a number of reasons if the authority set the policies and the rates. So I would say around 2002 or 2003, we started meeting. The authority already was in existence, was around, but it wasn't active, so we made it active. We've been meeting ever since. So you hear us talk about the authority quite often, but they're all borough employees.
Do you want to mention Julie's?
We'll come back. to that.
Okay. All right, then we'll go on to the police chief, Chief Weaver. Did he?
He stepped out.
Stepped out? Okay. Then we'll go to Gina.
Hi, I'm Gina Thompson. You guys have seen me here. I started with the borough last March of 2021 as the HARB Zoning and Planning Administrator. HARB stands for the Historical Architectural Review Board, so I do all the administration for the all of the applications and the projects within the historic district. Just a little bit of background. Previous to working for the borough, I sat where you sat. I was on council for I think about 2.5 years. Really loved it. And then prior to working for the borough, I was the Main Street manager for Downtown Bellefonte Inc., which is our local Main Street economic revitalization organization in Bellefonte. So yeah, that's about it. I've lived in Bellefonte since 2005 in the same house, and I love it, and pretty happy here. So, and I like these guys. And I like those guys. Yep.
Thank you, Gina.
Lori next. and we'll switch back.
Okay. All right. Lori?
I'm Lori McGowan. I'm the finance director. Pretty much everything finance is either me or Barbie, who you'll see in the screen portion. I've been here 19.5 years.
So we do want to circle back to Julie. We want to take this opportunity to recognize some of her efforts that you may not know about. In December, she completed a master's in public administration, which is like the gold standard in local government, state government, and so on, as far as a degree to have. And she did that through the Penn State World Campus program. And she actually got a specialization in finances along the way, so it's all very beneficial. We're very happy to have her. As you heard, she's only been with us for about a year or so, but we wanted to recognize her efforts and, just congratulate her for those efforts. If you want to say anything else related to that. I know you got a scholarship as well in the fall from the Water Workers Operators Association.
Yeah.
But if you want to say anything else, you're welcome to.
Yeah, I had gotten that scholarship. I hold a water and a wastewater license. So, and also I have done a lot of asset management with DEP as a part-time position, and as an adjunct, I teach at CPI from time to time, and for the water, wastewater, and energy courses over there. So I'm hoping to use some of these skills for the borough. I've enjoyed my time here, and it's great to be here with everybody.
Did we hit anybody?
Well, the only one that Harry Brooks, you've all seen him, he's been coming to the meetings fairly regularly, but Harry, he deals with, we call it the kind of the nuisance codes. It's the, if you have high grass or high weeds, or there's the snow on the sidewalk, or garbage containers that are left out and about, Harry's the person that we go to take care of that. So we'll catch in with Harry. He, if you have any questions of Harry, he comes into the meetings regularly, and he gives you a report. So we'll catch him the next time. All right, this is the employee introductions. We'll get through. Hopefully, this is going to work well. But I think it lasts approximately 5 minutes. So this will be the list, a list of all the employees that work at the borough.
Some are pictures and some are videos.
This is Barbie Watson. She does utility billing, pension, and so forth. This is Melissa McCullough.
She's usually at the front desk.
This is Alyssa.
She has a kind of our
Insurance,
assistant.
workers' comp, and a lot of stuff for Ralph and myself. Karen Garner. This is Gabby.
I'll let you say.
Parking enforcement, animal control. Scott Whitehill, same, parking enforcement, animal control.
Hi, Jason Brower. I'm a sergeant with the police department. I started with Bellefonte Police Department in 1993 and worked here until 2000. And then I left and worked in 2 other police departments in my career. I came back to Bellefonte Police Department in 2008. I was a school resource officer for 7 years, and I was promoted to sergeant and have been in that capacity since.
I'm Detective Bill Whitmer. I've been with the department since 2016. I've been a police officer since 2004.
This is Macy Neidig. It's hard to read that. And this is Joe Lefebvre.
He's 6'8". He's 6'7".
Hi, I'm Andy Pollock. I'm a police officer with Bellefonte Borough Police Department. I've been here for almost 6 years.
Matt Pollock, if you didn't catch that.
Sean Luce.
He was here last meeting.
My name is Robert Igo, police officer at the Bellefonte Borough Police Department. I'll be here 25 years at the end of April. Police officer, president of the union, and graduated from Penn State with a Bachelor of Science in Administration of Justice.
That's one of our school resource officers, Mike Lyons.
Mike Lyons. Todd Walter.
Was Tony Rivera. I retired from Spring Township Police. Worked there for 27 years. Started working for Bellefonte Police in February of 2021. So I've been with Bellefonte Police Department in a part-time basis for 1 year. I usually work once a month on Sundays, as I have a full-time job in Altoona, Pennsylvania. I live in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Again, Tony Rivera. Thank you.
Dr. Watson, 15 years.
My name's Tom Singleton, going on 9 years maintenance.
My name's Thomas Irwin. I'm the heavy maintenance department. I've been here since October 2011.
I'm Johnston Ball, wastewater operator, year and a half service.
My name's Shannon Struble. I'm an operator of the wastewater treatment plant. I've been here since December 19th, 2011.
Brian Newberg, been with Bellefonte Borough for 7 years, wastewater operator.
That's Brian Muethler.
Robbie Nichols, I'm the wastewater treatment plant operator, and I've been here 2.5 years.
Hi, my name is Craig Harold. I'm the electrician. I've been here for 10 years. My name is Randy Neff. I've been with the borough for 5 years, and mechanic.
My name is Jordan. I'm on the refuse crew, and I've been here 6 years.
My name is Sam Horn. I'm with the refuse department. I've been here 7 months.
Hi, I'm Rob Herschel. I'm the lead guy in the street department. I've been here almost 7 years.
Name's Scott Hunman. My title's street department. I have 13 years at the borough.
Steve Donnelly, street department, 1 year.
My name's Brett Meyer. I'm the lead man on the water and sewer department. I've been with the borough for 15 years.
Steve Kelly. I'm with Bellefonte Borough. I'm the water department, 6 years.
I'm Jason Ostrowski, work for the Bellefonte Water Department, been here 7 years.
So that was pretty much the employees of the borough. You can see if we were all paid for the beards that we have, we'd be doing really well. We got some great beards in the borough that I'm jealous of. Anyway, this slide here, what we wanted to kind of show you is Bellefonte Borough. If you can see my arrow here, this is the green outline. This is the borough. Borough right here inside all inside here, but where we have the red marks is everywhere the borough owns property. So this, for example, is Governor's Park out here. It's in Spring Township, but borough owns it. Same way with out on 5th Avenue. The Little League fields are right outside the borough, but borough owns that property. Down here along where Caparella Furniture is located is where the wastewater treatment plant is located. This is the Armory property right here out on Bishop Street. Down in here you have the Teener Field and Parkview Heights Park. Out here on the far end is Musser Lane. This is where the composting facility and our refuse department is located out there. We have some property here downtown. We had the Bellefonte Arts Museum, for example, is located here. This is Talleyrand Park and Mazzolo Park. The Borough Building is right here, and then up here's the reservoir. What's that, Ralph?
Reservoir, then over here.
Yeah, this is the used street water tank and so forth. So just to give you kind of an idea, you can see the borough does have a lot of properties around, in and around Bellefonte and Spring Township. Anything to add there, Ralph?
I think you covered it. We'll have a few pictures coming up to show some of these properties in more close-up fashion. This is that museum building. It's called the Lynn House, was kind of a historical name. We got it by donation from Omega Bank. Former Mayor Candy Daniger was involved in that, and some other citizens. But it went into our name as the borough, I think for tax purposes. We don't do anything with it. The museum runs it from A to Z. It's just in our name. So you may hear us talk about it from time to time. This is the freight building that was on the back of the Bush House property. It was moved. We have, some other day, we'll show you pictures of it being moved. It was moved from the Bush House site to this site, still under renovations. It's going to be a kayak museum at some point. This is what we call the Subway Sandwich Shop, Snappy's building. We purchased the property in about a year ago. The previous owners, J.J. Powell, got hit by COVID and said we were closing, or actually closed and then never reopened. And we had kind of had our eye on it off and on for years. And we actually came to terms and purchased at it, and figuring somehow incorporate the property into Talleyrand Park at some point.
Just here on the right, we just shown a photo of the gazebo in Talleyrand Park. On the left side, you'll see a picture of the train station. Again, that's borough property that we have an agreement with the chamber that we lease that building out to them for $1 a year so that they can use it for their purposes.
There is an upcoming roof and siding project in the works with some grant funds that should take place later this year.
Yeah, I'm hoping to do that. I don't want to say siding, but it's repainting the whole outside and putting a new roof on it. And you probably will hear us talk about that down the road as we go out on an RFP.
Let me go over a couple things. This is the beginning of what's called the mill race. This is Spring Creek, actually. Obviously, this is what we call the suspension bridge. This was a railroad bridge. We'll see another picture coming up. This is where the water flows in the mill race and goes under this brick-covered patio, it's a bricked over mill race, and then it daylights on the other side of what's now the cafe, Buzz Cafe, and you'll see on the backside where it daylights.
A couple years ago, on the picture on the left, on the raceway, we have the pergola. We did had some grant funds a couple years ago to refurbish that. So that has been taken care of. But when we talk about the pergola, that's what we'd be referring to.
Let me say one more thing. These falls you hear us talk about, they're man-made. They're put in to get this water to be a higher level and to get it to back up, so that it goes down the mill race. So when that Gamble Mill first went in, beginnings of Bellefonte, they put this mill race in. Of course, we rebuilt it a couple times, but the idea, the concept is this water goes down through the man-made mill race, as needed. We can adjust these gates and change the flow to 0 to something decent if we need to. But you'll hear us talk about the mill race at some point too. This is a new walkway bridge we completed using some community development block grant funding. Is there other funding involved?
On which one?
This walkway? Is it
all CDB. That was all community development block grant.
Okay, so it was all grant funds used to do this walkway, connect the parks on this side of the park. It's ADA accessible. We just kind of wrapped that up about a year ago, so it's a nice addition, because otherwise, the suspension bridge had steps and it was bouncy. There was no way for ADA accessibility folks to get across, so this solves that problem. This bridge is on the back side of the Big Spring, which sits over here, Big Spring Pump House. The outflow of the spring water is underneath this bridge. Interestingly, the bridge came from Penn State as a doctoral degree project, a structural engineer project. So they donated it to us. We had to get it here and we put it in this place, so it worked out great. This is what we call the sculpture garden. We can talk about that at some point too. It's really in memory of some people that were lost in a plane crash about 1969 or thereabouts.
Just want to mention two things. Currently, on the right, the bridge that goes over the Big Spring outflow, right now the flooring is not there. We had it taken out last fall. We were gonna put new concrete flooring in. Matt and Dave have been working on that. It just got too cold in the fall for us to complete the job, so that's probably gonna be finished sometime in March or early April. And as far as the bridge on the railroad bridge, or the pedestrian walkway, which we call it, that is an Amera board platform that we had put down. It's supposed to last 50 years. We're trying to get some funding to do the same thing, put the same product down on the suspension bridge. We went in last year for a grant on that, but we weren't successful. But we're going to continue trying to do that because that bridge needs some work here in the near future.
This is basically a tax map, but it's a good picture, aerial photo. This is Missoula Park. It was, for years, we called it Texaco Park, and we named it Missoula Park. So that when we talk about that, that's at the end of Reynolds Avenue. And of course, this is the addition to Talleyrand Park over here.
J.J. Powell here in about the last year or so, this little triangle portion here, they just donated that to the borough so that it could be contiguous. Me, Ralph? Okay. This is Parkview Heights Park. Some time ago, the borough got this land through a partial donation and partial payment through a DCNR grant. And then a few years ago, working with the Teener League Field, we helped them double their money to do a complete renovation, to upgrade that. And then in addition, over on the right-hand side, that section there, we put in a new playground for, children while their parents were there watching their older children play baseball and so forth. So that also is borough property. Governor's Park, pretty self-explanatory. A couple years ago, we put the Liberty Swing in for children in a wheelchair, and that just shows you, in addition, right across from it, we also upgraded the playground equipment there. Again, all that work was done in-house by borough staff, and then borough staff, also have to take care of, the parks crew takes care of Governor's Park all summer long.
Yeah, and then, of course, there's the fall leaf cleanup and spring cleanup from debris that came down, so they're about a 3-season crew, pretty much.
No doubt.
This is a wastewater treatment plant that we showed up at the top of the screen earlier with the big map. It sits between Bellefonte and Milesburg on the left. Pretty much we would like to, as Frank invited you down, we would like to take you on a tour, probably maybe around May or thereabouts when the weather's nice, and walk through. It's a very fascinating, high-tech place. Actually, taking raw wastewater and getting it to drinking water quality is pretty amazing. That plant does that, as I said, 24/7, 365. And we've done some major upgrades in some of these areas. In this area, and the insides of these basins were rebuilt. It's kind of something we always are trying to work with, or something the authority would work with primarily, but we want to keep, certainly keep council involved as we do these projects. Can we take these?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is what we call the Big Spring Pump House. I think because historically it was the first pump house there. It probably should be the Bellefonte Pump House as we know it, because it pumps water into, primarily in the borough, with a few exceptions. This is called the Corning Pump House. One sits on one side of the spring pond, and one sits on the other side of the spring pond. They both pump water out of the spring pond. As I say, this is primarily in the borough area, and this one primarily goes up along the Better Pike all the way to what was the Corning Glass plant.
Yeah, just to touch on that a little bit, we do have water in Spring Township, Benner Township, and College Township, as well as in the borough. We provide in areas Ralph
Yeah.
kind of touching on. So the water department does cover quite a bit of ground as far as how much water lines we have in the ground and who we provide it to.
Through, the main line at Corning, that went in the late 60s, then systems started to join on to it. Other systems that were on private systems folded basically and came on to our main, so that's how we have all these systems around the borough or on these main lines. This is what we call the reservoir. Deb probably knows more about it than any of us. She lives right across the street, so. It was uncovered for years, and then, of course, with the regulations, sometime it was covered by the borough to keep that, water pollutant-free. These are storage tanks for water. Obviously, the names are here, but Hughes Street is up near behind the high school, behind the Methodist Church. The Corning tank is up at the end of the line near the Center County Solid Waste Authority. It's that big green tank you see up there. It went in the same time the line went in, and when the Corning plant went in, it was needed for that process. And this is the newest tank up behind the Weiss store, grocery store. Has a storage tank, and down near the traffic light off of 550, there's a pump station that pumps water up to that and on out the line to the end of the system.
Yeah, for those of you that, Ralph mentioned the Solid Waste Authority, if you're not familiar with where that is, it's up near the Nittany Mall. That's, if you're at the mall at like the old Sears parking lot and looked across, you'd probably see the tank.
The authorities in the early stages of wanting to renovate this tank inside and out. That's painting, draining it, repairing any metals that's rusted, and giving it a fresh coat of paint and putting it back in service. So you may hear or see something about that in the authority minutes. This, of course, is the Armory property. It was owned by the National Guard Armory. It was built in around the 1930s or thereabouts. They built a new facility, and the state said, we want to sell this place. They put it up for bid. We were a bidder, and the county was a bidder. We came up with the winning bid. And we'll talk about different uses, but we've looked at it off and on for primarily public works or public uses, and maybe selling off the front to help pay for everything. You just haven't had that right connection yet.
So I showed you the Musser Lane composting site. This just kind of gives you a photo of, the middle photo of how you get up into it. You get up there, you turn left. Right up here in the middle, this is the place where our refuse department staff start their day every morning. Behind this building here, you'll have these windrow piles. We have a grant in with a 902 grant in to expand this pad here. If we are successful and are awarded that grant, we'll be doing that in the next year to expand this pad. As you know, this facility is, we have a permit with DEP, just not Bellefonte Borough, but we're in with Benner Township and Spring Township. We all supply leaves and grass and brush into this facility. So we're looking to expand this and have expanded it a lot over the last 10 years, and over the next 5 to 7, hopefully we'll be able to start bagging some of the compost, bag some of the mulch, and maybe end up selling that on the side as well. But this just gives you an idea of the volume of some of the material that comes into this facility.
Our municipal lots, we have renovated, I believe, all these 3 major lots in some fashion. We changed the names. We had letters that I don't know where the letters came from, but nobody ever knew which letter went to which lot. So we finally got smart and said, okay, this is the west lot. It's down across from Bonfato's, or we call it CVS. We still call it CVS lot, but this part is municipal or borough owned. you know, the part that's by CVS is privately owned. So we're talking about the metered area, kiosk area, that's directly across from Bonfato's and the train station. So that's the west lot. The north, well, I'll skip over, I guess I'll go to the south lot. South lot, which we used to call, I don't know if it was H or whatever, but, or the Waffle Shop lot. This is where the Waffle Shop restaurant is. You can see the lot is, you know, somewhat rectangular, but also includes what looks like the Waffle Shop parking lot. So we own that too. It's always a contention about snow removal, but we own that piece too. And so we own this, it's called the South Lot. It's, again, refurbished. It has the kiosks, the charging stations, and all that with it. And then the last one is the North Lot over by First National Bank off of West Howard. This is Pike Lane, and this is
Locust.
Thank you.
Right here.
So we, you know, we own this. We bought different pieces over time. This was the back of, everybody knows the Schaefer Hardware building. This was the back piece of that. We purchased that at some point. And of course, we have there is some different leases in here with First National and the Masons and so on, but primarily we have that as our municipal lot. And that, again, that's the north lot.
I'll just add on, a project that we have that's in the works is we're waiting to hear this spring from PennDOT's multimodal, but we put in for an application, a grant application, and in addition, our 2 CDBG applications to redo this area here, all of this, and then down here to Perry Lane. So it'd be from Perry down to Cherry. If funding works out the way we hope, we think we might be able to even go all the way down to High Street, and then and then that would fit in with the streetscape project that we did about 5 or 6 years ago here on Allegheny, and then down West Bishop to, I think we ended right there at Perry Lane.
So basically, we're talking, you know, upgrades of sidewalks, ADA ramps, better situated driveways, some storm curbing to catch some of the storm water, lighting, you know, where we can put in lighting would help, those types of things, possibly the crosswalks that we're talking about, the imprinted crosswalks that we're talking about by the diamond could be included. We're gonna try to get in as much as we can, and that's called a streetscape project. This is another picture of the mill race going through the park. I want to point this out primarily. There's a bridge. You can't even tell it's there if you're crossing West High Street by the chamber or by the cafe, but there's a bridge in here that PennDOT is planning to replace around, they bumped it out another year. It's probably 2025, 2026, but they are planning to replace it at some point. We have talked about, you know, about what to do with the rest of the mill race. Should we leave it, should we fill this in and leave that go dry and expand over it like they did here? Or should we put a bridge back in, leave it alone? There's been a lot of questions about what to do with this part of the mill race. So you'll hear us talk about that.
Yeah, one thing on property we didn't mention, but now that we can show this, this little piece of parcel, this is My Buzz Cafe right here. And this little parcel here is a small park that the borough owns.
We don't have a name for it.
The smallest park in the state.
That's what he said. It was a railroad siding, and it was just kind of left over, so we have it, but we never, other than a couple benches, that's all we've done with it. I just wanted to show you this. This is what the imprinting will look like. Now, we will have something that has the piano keys as white bars every so often, but we just wanted to show you the picture. Our road won't be humped up. This is at Potter Street, near our municipal lot, but the same imprinting will be done. up near the courthouse crosswalks, on the 7 or so that we've talked about.
That's correct.
You wanna go over that?
Well, I think this may be the last slide, but we wanted to mention that the Bellefonte Fire Department, you'll hear us, President Brackbill talk often about the department. It's comprised of 2 companies, the Logan Fire Company and the Undyne Fire Company. Each company has a fire chief, and the department chief is currently Gary Lohr, so he's over the whole department. The fire department is financially supported by the borough, but both companies are all volunteer organizations. We do have an ordinance, it's Chapter 35, which outlines what the borough responsibilities are. And as far as Chief Lohr, he'll come into Borough Council at least once a year to provide all you an update on what the expenditures are from the boroughs, what the borough provides the fire department. Lori works closely with the fire department too, so she's always a good resource if there's any questions in regard to that.
I'm just gonna rephrase that because it's very confusing. We have a Bellefonte Fire Department, sort of like the police department, but it's all volunteer labor. There's no paid labor whatsoever. Our piece in it is the equipment. We don't own the firehouses. We own most of the equipment in partnership or it's in our name. We have agreements about how that's paid for with the other municipalities, but that's what we have as the department. We just have the equipment. There's no labor involved that we have. They're all volunteers. So when we say department, it's an all volunteer department. To us, that was fairly quick. Do you have any questions that you skipped over, or maybe you heard about a property or something we could go back over or something?
We either put them to sleep or.
Well, the fun part would be getting in the vehicle and taking a look at these properties firsthand. So we want to do that when the weather's better, daylight's better, and so on. So we'll find a time that works. Even if we have to do a couple of times that works, maybe a couple groups, we'll take you on a tour of these facilities and continue to point out where we're at with some of the projects and what we have on the burner and things like that. But that's like part 2 of this orientation we'll be doing at some point. We did want to leave a few minutes in the work session. There's a couple items from the last meeting that maybe we could jump to real quick. Did you want to?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
You're ready to go.
All right.
So I want to thank Dawn and Vanna for the presentation.
Okay. I did the best I could. Thanks.
One thing I was going to say, we didn't come back to Chief Weaver.
Oh, I'm sorry. Why don't we, since he came in the room?
That's right, yeah, you left the room.
You're supposed to do an intro for your.
You stand up, say who you are. Borough.
Okay, hi, I'm Sean Weaver. I've been the police chief since 2006 or 7.
5, I thought it was, but I
2006.
Okay.
I started my career in 1997 in Bellefonte Borough and worked here for about 5 years. And I went to Ferguson Township for a few years and I came back as the chief. Been here ever since. They haven't changed the locks on the doors yet. So.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, we don't have a couple items here, so and we only have a few minutes anyway. So I wanted to get back to the speed study that was provided to us in that presentation at our last meeting. And I wanted to make sure if anybody came up with any questions since then. I know I talked to the mayor as far as action items and things, and he had sent out an email to me today, I believe, either today or yesterday. He sent that to me, I saw it, but I appreciate that and pass that along to council, or you can through through the packet or through you said something about providing that in your reports later on?
Okay, so, what was the question again?
Well, it was about the speed study that was done on Crawford Lane.
Correct.
And there weren't any questions, and I just wanted to make sure that people didn't think of something. But then we did talk about an action item, because that was one of the things we didn't hear was how you're gonna, we knew what all the data was.
How we'll implement, right, correct. And I think you had asked the mayor about that yesterday.
Correct.
So basically what we'll do is we'll take, so if we get citizen complaints in a certain area, we'll go out and, we pretty much know where most of the issues are in town. But say if we get a complaint somewhere, we just want to find out when exactly are the high volume of traffic, when would it be, better to set our people up to use your time a little wisely. We don't want to set them up at 1 o'clock if most of the traffic is up. Most of the issues are at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So we utilize it that way. And if instead of calling PennDOT in to do a speed study, we can do it we can do it on our own. So in a nutshell, that's what it'll be used for.
Chief, did that study show you guys anything that was a surprise to you? I know you probably know all the streets where there's issues and
right, the amount of traffic that is on there was surprising. And speaking with the residents up there, I went up and met with them last week, and and numbers can show, numbers are numbers, but if you live there and you see it, and if you're retired or you're hanging out all day, and you're witnessing it, those numbers really don't mean anything to you because you're actually seeing it happen, and you have to take the human element into it too. And I think a lot of times police presence, whether we're hampered a lot where we can run our speed through a line of sight and we don't use radar, but just having a car up there, I was up there quite a bit last week, and just having a car sitting and a stop sign, they'll slow down a little bit. So it's challenging no matter, you always want to have a flyer here or there. But
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask, I think the study that was done was really helpful because it does really highlight the times of day and days of the week.
yes, it does.
When there is the most traffic up there.
Yes.
One of the other problems is drivers running the stop sign for the westbound traffic at Crawford and Allegheny.
And that goes hand in hand with the speed.
Right. But looking at the position of the stop sign there, I measured it, it's 34 feet from the intersection. And I'm just wondering if that's the appropriate place for the stop sign to be, if it was closer to the intersection.
I noticed when I was up there in the morning time, people do stop, they pull out into the intersection to where they can see to go through. And they do actually stop, but they stop a little bit further out.
Sometimes.
But where they're stopping is not creating any danger. So
Right, but
maybe the
the
stop sign
problem
can
is
be
the
moved a
people
little
who
bit.
just don't even slow down and go around that corner. They don't stop, they don't use their turn signals.
Right.
I'm just wondering if the stop sign was closer to the actual intersection with the stop bar, if that would, and there's also no delineation between the edge of the road and the reservoir property. It's very similar to what's going on at Bishop and Spring Street at the tobacco store, where it's just kind of open pavement and it looks like you can drive anywhere. If we had a white edge line that ran up to the corner to delineate where the actual road surface is, and take a look at where the stop sign is located and maybe put a stop bar in there, that would just be a reminder.
Right.
But I'm one of the people who just, I stand in my kitchen window and just watch people blow by.
We can take a look at that, of course, when the weather permits that painting and all that.
Right.
Relocating the sign, we can check.
I think a big stop bar would be helpful on both sides.
Right, because the same issue is across the street. It's the location of the stop sign, because it's kind of behind the driveway entrance to the townhouses.
Right.
And I was wondering if that's something that LTAP could help us with, just in
yes.
terms of the design of the intersection, and if they would have any helpful ideas about how to slow traffic up there. During the summer, it's used very heavily with dog walkers, pedestrians, people who go out to exercise. And it's a narrow lane without, if you have two vehicles, they can't pass. Somebody has to pull off, and there's no place to pull off.
We can certainly touch base with LTAP. I think there was, in our previous discussions with their personnel, it seemed like it came back to enforcement, because there was a number of intersections, a number
Right.
of concerns in similar nature to this. And I remember even talking about the speed bumps, that if you do that, the traffic jumps over to the next street and so on. So I think the message was, try to maybe have a period of time of heavy enforcement, try to send people a message, and then maybe it'll quiet down.
Right, enforcement's always, we would have to enforce speed there, we need to actually sit in people's driveways. There's only one spot. There's one spot on that road where we could sit and watch that stop sign, and that's where I think a lot of the issue is, down closer to Blanchard, the stop sign. People running that stop sign too as well.
The one at Hepburn Street?
Yes, at Hepburn. So I.
Gina's giggles. Yeah, well, I appreciate your doing the study, because it really did help to narrow down exactly particularly the volume.
Mm-hmm.
And the speed is not necessarily excessive.
Right.
There are a few people who have made a career
For us
out
to
of it.
cite, we would have to have a 25, we have to give them 10 over.
Right.
Which 25 on that street
It's
is
fast.
quite fast.
I think if you just started with the stop sign,
Oh, yeah, right.
you'd probably get 80%.
Have to make sure that stop sign's covered in the ordinance then, as well. Because it's the multi-directional stop sign
Okay.
on Hepburn.
We can see if that's the case, or remedy that if
Yeah.
necessary.
And I was able to do a couple other things to slow speed down. I don't want to, put it out, but seemed to work fairly well last week. So.
Thank you. Any other questions on that topic? So next one would be, if anybody had any questions on the finance reports. We tabled it at the last meeting because it was so large, and forgetting that there'd be more coming afterwards for this meeting, so now we kind of doubled up. But just want to make sure that everybody kind of got to look at it, understand a little bit of it. But Lori's here tonight if you have questions specific to the budget that she could explain to us, and if not, then Deb?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could clarify kind of the interfund transfers. I understand transfer to payroll and transfer to what looks like a bank for loan payments. But there are transfers from water to sewer and the other way, and yeah.
So, in the budget, there are transfers between like the water, sewer, refuse to the general fund, and that's because all of us up here are paid through the general fund, but we all work on water, sewer, refuse stuff. So we transfer money back to cover things like wages and benefits and things like that, so that, and there's just certain things that it's easier to pay through the general fund and they reimburse.
Okay.
So that's why we do it that way.
Okay, I just wondered, looking at the voucher summary, when you
And-
have multiple transfers within a fund, they look like they're just going back and forth.
And sometimes I pay a bill just maybe through the general fund, but it's really broken out between several funds,
Okay.
and then it's easier to pay with one check. Because sometimes I've had places that if I send more than one check, it's a mess. A lot of times it's the insurance companies, so it's actually easier to pay it with one check and transfer that money back than to send that check and have to straighten everything out, because I've done it before.
Okay.
So I do that sometimes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I was thinking of talking with Lori in between these two meetings, last meeting and this meeting. Would it be helpful if we just had like a cheat sheet that said what the definition of each report is and what kind of the takeaways are? Would that be helpful? I mean, to me, they're voluminous, and I don't, I know if I was brand new looking at things, I wouldn't know what to look for, but you're thinking something just to kind of help you get focused and kind of say, well, this report, the purpose is for this. This report, this is this purpose, and so on. So maybe by the next round of reports, we'd include something like that with it. Just thinking that might help.
Yeah.
Okay.
That doesn't cause you any more work, does it?
I'm
not voting for it if it does.
We're just in the middle of the audit, but whatever.
Don't worry about me.
I'll just nod my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Thank you for.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks,
you, Lori.
Thanks, Lori.
No other questions, so we'll take a break here and return at 7:30.
They didn't want us posting as much, as minimal as possible.
Yeah, I'll get that.
Doug was texting me throughout said he was gonna jump on at 7, and then he just must be in another meeting or something.
Well, we'd like to recognize you, just say your name and stuff, maybe somewhere along the meeting, because you weren't here in the work session, so.
Call the meeting to order for Bellefonte Borough Council. We'll welcome everybody to the Borough Council meeting. We'll do our best to keep the meeting moving on time and end on time. Due to some of the room acoustics and the mask, we need to talk a little louder. If you're going to speak during public comments, please come up to the podium, sign your name, put on your address, and just speak up so that everybody can pick up on it. We're still working with the camera issues and things people have been complaining about over the past couple of weeks since we got the new room set up the way it is and the table and the configuration that it is, so we're still trying to work some of those bugs out. All comments should be kept to 3 minutes maximum, and we appreciate that if anybody's speaking, that will happen. At this time, we'll have a Pledge of Allegiance. We will not have a moment of silence. We'll just have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Bernier?
Here.
Mr. Brackfield?
Here.
Ms. Cleaton?
Here.
Ms. Stan?
Here.
Mr. Johnson, I believe, is on remotely.
Not yet.
Okay. May join us after a bit. Ms. McKean?
Here.
Ms. Purnell?
Here.
Ms. Sedgwick?
Here.
Ms. Tosti Vasey is excused, and Mayor Johnson is excused.
Okay. Moving on to additions to council meeting agenda. In accordance with Act 65 of 21, if the matter is not on the agenda, council cannot take official action on it with some exceptions. Council can act on matters related to potential or real emergencies. Council may add a matter of agency business to its agenda through the majority vote. Council should state the reason why they want the action added. Is there anything on the agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to move the item about the mask mandate from new business to the consent items.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, so that's not an add-on, that's just, we're just moving something from one place of the agenda to the other. Everybody in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. I think that motion carried. Anything else on the agenda? Or not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, move into public comments. Are there any public comments this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into communications. Ralph?
Sure. The first one is a letter from Downtown Bellefonte Incorporated, or DBI. They're requesting to have a special event called the Garden Party And Talleyrand Park is a fundraiser scheduled for May 15th, 8 a.m. to 6. Rain date, May 22nd. There's some details in the letter.
What I'll do here, I think this is the one, this came in with some items missing on it, and we had asked for some other information. So I think what we're going to do today is we'll go ahead and approve the date and the times, but we'll table until we can get the other information together on this, with this information. And Jenny Lynn's here, she can speak to those, but I'm not going to sit here and take up time of council to plan an event. So we'll take care of that later on, but we will, with the motion, I would accept the motion to approve the time and the date of this request.
I'll make that motion. I'll second it, please.
And I just, so I did bring a map that outlines the area that I can share with everybody. And then for this, I just wanted everybody to know that for all of our events, safety is kind of our main priority for everything. So we do meet with the police department prior to all of our events. And prior to the winter market, we met with Sergeant Brower and kind of outlined all of the areas for security and safety regarding any alcohol. So we kind of have all of that plan laid out for our events. But I do have a map if anybody is interested in seeing this that does outline the alcohol boundary and where all of the alcohol signs would be.
And we'll do that at our next meeting, once we
Yeah.
have it for everybody, and then we can have a discussion on it, probably
Sure.
set the work session at that point, and then finish the approval at that meeting.
Sure, so would you just like me to email this?
Yes, please, just send it to
Okay.
me, Jenny, and then I can send it out to in the next council packet.
Thank you for that. Any other discussion on this motion? Okay, seeing that, none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And again, that motion was to approve the date and times of the Talleyrand Park gazebo and extended area, and following all CDC guidelines, but we did the time and the date.
Next item, Central PA Tasting Trails requesting to have their 2022 Craft Beverage Expo on Sunday, June 26th from 12 noon to 7 in the extended area Talleyrand Park. The details are, I think, pretty clear in the letter that they sent along for your review.
So I'll call a motion to approve the Central PA Tasting Trails request to use Talleyrand Park extended area following any CDC guidelines in place. I have just one clarification. Is there a map included with that? Because I don't think there was.
There wasn't a map. I did say the area would be cordoned off, or to some extent they'd have security there checking
I think if we're
age.
making others with the map,
Okay.
we can approve it conditionally and
Sure.
ask and request the map. So,
I'll make that motion, Bernier.
okay.
I'll second that, Dan.
Okay, discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll approve the motion will be to approve the date and time for the Craft Beverage Expo on condition that we receive the map on the outline of the area that they're using for the drinks and the trail, yeah. Okay, if everybody's ready to vote, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And motion carries.
The DBI Winter Market, there's requesting to change the date from Saturday, December 10th to Sunday, December 11th. No rain date, same location in Talleyrand Park, I believe, as previously requested.
So I'll call for a motion and a second to approve DBI's date change for the winter market.
I'll make the motion. McKean?
I'll second it, Cleveland.
Any discussion on that motion? Okay, Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve DBI's date change for the winter market signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next item is HBI, Historic Bellefonte Incorporated Easter Egg Hunt. Additional information, this was presented at the last meeting. They provided some answers to the questions that were raised. It's in your information for review.
Now I'll call a motion to approve HBI's Easter egg hunt scheduled for April 16th, 2022. Do you have the time on that?
I don't have it in front of me, the end date,
Yeah.
the end date was like 3 p.m. I think it was one of the questions, what was the end date?
Yeah, I think they'd be cleaned up by 3 p.m.
Yes.
Yes, it ends at 2.
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion for now.
Second?
I'll second it, Clayton.
Can you mute the speaker?
It's done.
You can mute him, I think.
Dawn, you're gonna have to unmute yourself as well, because he probably can't hear you.
Okay, so discussion on this motion. Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve the HBI Easter egg hunt scheduled for April 16th, 2022, that ends at 3 p.m., signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Next item, St. John Catholic School is requesting to use Governor's Park Pavilion Number 1 and some fields out there, basketball court, and so on for their upcoming field day on May 19th. It's a traditional program that's done out there in the park.
And I'll call for a motion to approve the St. John's Catholic School request to use Pavilion Number 1, the baseball field, basketball court, soccer field, and walking path for field day on May 19th, 2022, with a rain date of May 23rd, 2022. We will waive the fees except for the admin fee of $50. They will still pay that.
I'll make the motion, Sedgwick.
I'll second, Dan.
Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve St. John's Catholic Schools request for Pavilion Number 1, the baseball field, basketball court, soccer field, and walking path for field day on May 19th, 2022, with a rain date of May 23rd, 2022. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next item, Bellefonte Sunrise Rotary is requesting to hold the Bellefonte Children's Fair along Armory Street, from Lynn to Curtin, and then a portion of East Curtin, I think from Armory over to Wilson, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., June 4th. The other details are in the letter about cleanup and trash cans and so on being provided.
I'll call for a motion to approve the road closure of the 400 block of East Curtin Street, the East Curtin Street to North Wilson Street, and Armour Street from Lynn Street, and East Curtin Street for the Children's Fair from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on June 24th, 2022.
I'll make that motion, please.
Clayton?
A second, Dan.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve the road closure of the 400 block of East Curtin Street to North Wilson, and Armour Street from East Lynn Street, and East Curtin Street for the Children's Fair from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on June 4th, 2022. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Center County Recycling and Refuse Authority gave us notice of a rebate. The amount of the rebate is $2,532.45. There's a note in the letter that asks council if they're interested in donating that back to their endowment education fund. I think typically we've not done that, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
We have not done that.
We have not. It's just to help, we keep it to help cover some of our expenses.
It looked like, when I saw the letter, that I know they made the request, but they've also weren't finished with what they're,
Yes, they're gonna evaluate in
Total.
May or June, once they get their audit in.
so if the council would like, we could table this till May or June, or not do anything with it at this point, but we just need somehow to remember that we need to bring it back if somebody decides we want to donate it or not, so. I would accept a motion to table till May.
I'll make that motion. McKean.
I'll second that, Clayton.
Discussion?
Didn't their correspondence show that they were anticipating fee or rate increases
Yeah,
not too far in the future?
2023.
Yeah.
Yes, they're saying they're not gonna
Like
have.
another year, their rates are going up,
Mhm.
so this would give us a head start.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to table until May, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next item is Bellefonte EMS, or Emergency Medical Services. The overall umbrella of the Seven Mountains organization is having a legislative breakfast and inviting members of council, elected officials. The breakfast is held at the Ramada Hotel and Conference Center, March 10th, 8:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. If you would like to RSVP, we need to do that by February 25th. If you would like us, the borough office, to help you with that, let us know. We can assist you with that. There's no action at
No
this
action,
point.
no.
So, next item, we did have a couple comments regarding streets. First one was just in general about the loss of parking spaces, I believe around the diamond. It's not, doesn't say exactly, and a suggestion about adding a red light or traffic light. It's there for your consideration, and the next one is specifically on the diamond, some proposed improvements that could be made. Again, that's there for your review as well. I don't think we're going to take any action at this time. The last item here under written communications is a summary review letter for the 2021 Center County Toys for Tots program. Very successful, a lot of great donations. And the borough is recognized for having a collection bin and participating in the event.
Okay. Any questions on those issues, items that Ralph just went over? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move into the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have a general meeting minutes from February 7th. We have, I believe it's 6 finance items from the meeting of the 7th of February that we tabled. So we're going to have to, what we need to do is remove that from table before we can do anything with the consent agenda. So I have a motion to remove 7 financial items from the February 7th meeting.
I'll make that motion for now.
For now.
I'll second, Dan.
Okay. So there's no real discussion on this, so we'll just remove it, bring it from table.
Yes.
So then we can go ahead and include that into the consent agenda and also the finance reports for January of 2022. And then we also had an add-on, moving an item from new business to the consent agenda, and that would be to revise the Bellefonte building and properties mask requirements from required to optional. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Were there some questions about the meeting minutes before we do that? I thought I saw something in red on the
Well, what
meeting
we can do is
minutes.
pull it, if you want to pull it and discuss it. So we'll pull the council minutes.
Can we pull the indoor masking mandate, please?
Okay. So that just leaves the budget items. So do I have a motion to approve the financial reports from February 7th and the financial reports for January 2022?
Yes, I'll make that motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll second that, Clayton.
Okay, any discussion on those? All those in favor of the motion to approve the budget items listed on the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Let's go ahead and do the minutes of the last meeting. I think we went back and fixed a couple. There might be a name. I think under the
Page 3. Right here, Randy.
yeah, I put you as Deb as second, putting a second to that motion, but I couldn't remember. I know you and Joanne had a couple back and forth there, and for some reason you came up in my mind because I just don't remember anybody else doing that.
If you like, if you want to approve them conditional upon us checking the video and filling in the appropriate name as best we can here.
All right.
So we have I'll call for a motion for conditional approval for the minutes and add the correct name if it's wrong at a later date, the next meeting.
I'll make that motion for now.
I'll second, Dan.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. You guys have notes for that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be, the next item then will be the revising the mass requirements from required to optional. First, let's just start, I'll call that as call for a motion, then second to revise the Bellefonte Building and Properties mass requirements from required to optional.
I'll make the motion for now.
I'll second, Dan.
Discussion.
As of today, the CDC is still indicating that Center County has a very high transmission rate, and their recommendations are that masks be worn for any indoor gatherings. And we have just approved organizations to have outdoor events indicating that they have to follow CDC guidelines. So for us to change our protocol when we're asking other people to follow somebody else's guidelines seems a little contradictory. Also, within this setting, I feel a responsibility as a council person. My interaction with members of the public, family, and friends outside of these chambers is the same as everybody else's. It's unknown, and who they interact with is unknown. Both the manager's report and the police report indicate that there's borough staff out with COVID. So as long as that situation continues, I feel a responsibility to not make it any worse than it is until the transmission rate is lowered.
Any other discussions?
I agree with Ms. Clayton. I have a 92-year-old mother that I care for periodically. I have young grandchildren, a baby that's due in June, and I don't want to be responsible for infecting any of those people. Can't we give people some credit for being responsible and knowing not to come into meetings when they're sick? And if they feel like they're at risk, either wear a mask or participate via Zoom? Since we have that technology, I feel that's fair enough to use that.
We do, and I think that's the language that we currently have on the door would change, that it would, the mask would still be optional, so that's visible out there. And again, I think also indicate that if you aren't feeling well, we prefer that you did join by Zoom in that manner.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's ways around it, and,
Does the borough require members of the public to be masked when they come in to the office, if they come into the office?
I think that's- Isn't that what we were just making a motion for, to make it optional to come in this borough building,
Yeah,
right?
Borough
Okay.
Council made it mandatory, and for the most part, most people comply with the public coming in. Most people have a mask on. I wouldn't say everybody does, but most people do.
I think too, as Borough Council members, we have the responsibility to set that example for the community.
I will also say that the mask that I pick up every meeting, which I forgot to do at the beginning of it, it says it does not help at all with preventing COVID transmission, so they're not of much value anyways.
They are recommending the KN95.
They are.
For the
They are.
Omicron. And
For
you know,
those-
people
for-
can spread it without being symptomatic. That's a concern too.
Any other discussion?
I'm calling for a roll call vote, Mr. President.
Do we have enough for that? Is it with missing a couple?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a majority, well,
Okay.
there's a majority in the room, and through Zoom, a majority here. We're good.
Okay, so the motion was to revise the Bellefonte Building and Properties mask requirements from required to optional.
I'll make that motion.
Yeah, it's already made.
I'm sorry.
I'm just
I'm sorry.
repeating it.
No problem. So a yes vote is for that optional.
Yeah, and before I'll pass the gavel to you, Kent, there for a minute, but
Okay.
I do want to say that I know there are businesses that are relaxing their masking. I think the American Philatelic is one of them that just started this week. And I think there may be a few others out there doing the same thing. So things are relaxing apparently, and people working with it. And I think as the borough and as council, what, you know, I feel the same way. I don't want to carry anything home, but again, it's, I don't want to make myself sick trying to talk through a mask at meetings like this. But if we do feel ill, we join by the Zoom, and if not, then, we come in and we go to the meeting. If you want to wear a mask, you wear a mask. That's how you want to do it.
I'd like to make a suggestion, but not an amendment, because it's so lengthy. But anyway, you can make it effective after this meeting for people who may not feel comfortable, that walked in not knowing, how this vote's going to go. Give them to the next meeting to decide if they're going to be here, wear a mask, or we go into remote. So you can make it, we're 2 weeks from the next meeting, so we're probably better off anyway. But give people 2 weeks to figure out how they want to come to the meeting.
Well, then we would need an amendment to move that to the first meeting in March. So, do I have
So
a-
we would be losing part.
Pardon?
Would we basically be tabling this issue?
Oh, we're gonna vote
Okay, we're going to vote on it, but
Effective.
Be effective.
it'll be effective the first meeting in March.
Can I also add something? That in this room right now, there are members of borough staff, employees, members of the public, the CNET crew, and, we all travel in different circles. And I don't think it's fair to unintentionally impact the ability for the borough to provide the services it does if you have employees out sick.
I have to be honest, we have a hard time getting people to wear masks. They've either had COVID or whatever, they're vaccinated. I can only say it so much and then leave people make their decision. But we've been dealing with this for a couple of years now. I think, I'm just speaking for the employees, they either wear them or they don't. We've tried to enforce it. I don't think we're really good at it, but they know what they're up against. And some, we have a spectrum of people. just like any organization. CNET, you know, if they chose, they could do this remotely if they really wanted to, if necessary. And I guess we have the choice of wearing the mask or not.
Randy, we have to amend the motion that we made?
Yeah,
We have redo it?
to extend it, the revision to the first meeting in May, or March.
As opposed to immediately?
Right.
Okay. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment to hold off the revision to take effect on the first meeting in March of 2022?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I thought we were doing roll call, that's why.
Well, yeah, we are
Oh,
doing.
so the next one,
Yeah, the
this
next one.
amendment. Okay.
Okay, so now on the motion itself would be to revise the Bellefonte Building and Properties mass requirements from required to optional to take place March 1st, at the March 1st meeting of 2022. And we'll do a roll count on that.
Okay, Mr. Bernier,
Yes.
Mr. Brackville,
Yes.
Ms. Clayton,
No.
Ms. Dan,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. McKean,
No.
Ms. Purnell,
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick,
Yes.
Ms. Tosti-Vasey is excused, and that's all we have. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yeses and 2 noes.
Okay. All right. That takes us now to our reports. So all the reports are written. Nobody's really giving a verbal report, but the information was in the packet. We can go down through the list, if you would, Mr. Stewart, and just kind of call in what's there. So I do have to throw something in once you get to the fire department.
Sure. So the mayor is away. I don't believe he has an official report. The police, Chief Weaver does have some police, I think your report's in there.
Yes, for the third.
Yep, so it's there. So again, a lot of these are, as our president's saying, are self-explanatory. The chief's report is in there. If anybody has a question, we do have the chief with us.
Yeah, you're welcome to ask questions if you
Yeah,
have
the
something.
idea is we wouldn't rehash the report, but if you have a question, by all means, ask it. So we have Ms. Thompson ready to go.
Sorry.
Office of Community Affairs.
Since it came up, I just wanted to say the reason why I was back there with my mask down is because I have a massive migraine. I've had it all day, and this makes it worse, but I am very pro-mask, just for what it's worth. And I like the public coming in with masks on. So I just wanted to clarify, because there was a lot of stuff on my memo that's not actually in your packet, so I thought it might be confusing to you. Everything's different now. Sometimes we would send stuff to you after packets went out, so I thought that's what I would be doing again. But just so you know, the meeting minutes for the planning commission meeting didn't come in time. The Center Region Code reports didn't come in time. So the building permits, the rental permits, the meeting minutes for planning, those will be in next meeting's packet. And then also something that was going to be included but was pulled last minute was a resolution to approve a DCED grant that we're hoping to go after. So that is also not in your packet. So I just felt like due diligence to clarify all of those things that are not in your packet, but that are in my report. So other than that, it's business as usual. I guess since we've got CNET here and I'm on the spotlight, I will put a plug in for this workshop that DBI is putting together. I don't know, is that helpful to do it that way? This is how to open a business in Bellefonte. This is something that Jenny Lynn and the DBI crew have been working very hard to put together. And so what it is for aspiring and current business owners to come and get their questions answered on how to open up a brick and mortar in the downtown district. I'll be there to represent the historic district and zoning and planning, and then we'll have someone from code. We will have some architects there as well that are very familiar with historic district projects. And we will also have a gentleman from Marquee Development there also to answer questions. So we're really looking forward to it. Spread the news. It is on the Office of Community Affairs webpage, which I've been updating. So it's there, and DBI has been putting blasts out about it as well. So, are there any questions for me? Cool. Thank you. It's been a long day. Thank you.
Hey, Chief, I have one question. Yes, sir. Real simple one. On your report, like just simply with traffic stops 53, traffic citation 6.
Mm-hmm.
What about warnings? Do you guys capture warnings? If
You would assume that the other
46
the other
are
46
written
are
warnings?
written warnings.
You should capture that so that you know, just, that your guys are out there
Right.
handing somebody and telling them, hey, come to a complete stop at that stop sign, or whatever,
Right, right.
That way they know.
Most of them are written and they're documented.
Okay,
so.
you should include that.
Okay.
Just so you see how many people are getting something from, your officers, they're taking the time to write it. Do you guys handwrite them, or do they? print?
Handwrite 'em.
Do you still handwrite them?
Yes.
Huh, definitely include them, because that's time consuming.
It is.
That takes your officers some time. Taking the license back to the car, writing it out, that's all capturing your time, your officer's time.
Right.
Anyway, just thought
Okay.
I'd point that out, yeah.
Right. Yep.
May I go on?
Yeah, go ahead.
My monthly report is included in the packet. This is our report meeting, so it's there. If anybody have any questions, happy to try to answer them.
I just wondered, I don't know if we missed Harry or not, but does anybody have questions for Harry Brooks, our
Yes, I'm
nuisance
sorry.
officer?
Yes, for two reasons. When Harry thought he was recognized, we want to make sure he's recognized. Since he issues a lot of tickets. That's the guy.
I'll hold my breath so you can see what I look like.
If I was you, I'd keep the mask on.
I didn't attend earlier. I didn't think it was necessary, but Ralph said that I should give you a little bit of background and understanding of who I am and what I do. So, obviously, my name is Harry Brooks. I'm the nuisance code enforcement administrator, whatever. I've been with the borough now for about a year, actually almost exactly a year today. I was in the very same position back in 2014 and 2015, and my glasses fog up. I'm a Bellefonte native. Just recently retired from a 35-year career doing insurance safety consulting for commercial insurance companies. To give you a sense of what nuisance codes, not to be confused with Center Region Code, because they do property inspections mostly on commercial businesses within the borough. Although that's the kind of work I used to do, it's not what I do now. Nuisance codes at this time of year would be snow removal. In the summertime, springtime and summertime, it would be vegetation, whether it be cutting grass, trimming bushes that hang over the sidewalk, et cetera, et cetera. Annually, we do a sidewalk inspection to make sure the sidewalks are in good condition. And it could be, if you look at the report, it can be anything from people accumulating junk on their properties, excuse me, uninspected, unlicensed vehicles, just anything like that that helps run down the borough. Any questions?
The detail that goes in your reports.
Great
It is.
report.
Okay.
Thank you, Harry. Yeah, so just Hearing no questions on my report, I'll move on down.
Well, let's go one thing. We met with these agendas, and one of the reasons we're digging so much into these requests for the parks and things, we discussed, and Ralph and his team are working on creating a form to be used for those requests that will ask for the information that sometimes we get that isn't completed, and then in the past, we would use council's time to go back and try to fix that, and it got to be too much in some of those cases. One took about 30 minutes to get through, so, and that was just for one project. So we felt that we had a completed form and asking the questions that need to be asked, that we need to know and things are being followed properly.
Yes.
That's what's happening now, and update it more from there.
Yeah, that's a big project, but it's a very worthy project. As you all have seen, practically every meeting, there's a request for at least one, if not more, special events. We just have to have all our ducks in a row with liability and people directing traffic, and whether there's alcohol or not, because it involves liability and so on. So we're going to get all that captured the appropriate way, PennDOT forms that need to be filled out by the organization that go to PennDOT. We capture all that up front, and it makes it easier each step down the line. So we're working on that. Hope probably spend a few minutes at the next work session going over what we have, and then go from there.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Stewart? Seeing none.
There's a number of reports. Again, the idea, this is a new format. We're all trying to get used to it. The idea is, if you have a set of minutes, you've attended something as a liaison, we're calling that's kind of how we call your connection to another body, another board, authority, commission, what have you. If you have a set of minutes or something, that's kind of what we're looking for. If you write up a set of notes, or there's something like that, submit that as well. And that would be your report. And then our responsibility is to read it. And if we have a question, we would ask that question at the meeting. So these are things, some of them are very brief, memo format, which is fine. Dawn has a couple memos in there in the early part, administrative part, regarding the Performance Center project. There are more or less some updates. What the IDA, or we call it the IDA, but it's the Bellefonte Area Industrial Development Authority, what they've been doing. And on down, the Center County Boroughs Association will be having a meeting. As you can see in my notes, they have not met since late 2019, so we're trying to get that restarted. And that meeting would be March 17th at 6 p.m. here in this room. And you would have got information today in your emails regarding that meeting. On down, Don has a memo about the CNET board meetings that he attends. Nittany Valley Joint Recreation Authority, you may know they're working on the swimming pool project out at Governor's Park. They're going to be probably at the second meeting in March for an update or a status meeting as to where they're at with that project. Penn State Sustainability Projects, this is kind of the things we were talking about with Musser Lane, the compost studies, and some other studies. The police department relocation, that was one of the studies they did. They've done a number of studies, things around the mill race, the water, what if we took out the mill, the dam, the falls, what would happen, various studies they've done. And right now, their current study is a communications newsletter for sustainability information going out to citizens, so that's in the works right now. There's some updates on that. Shade Tree Commission, a big thing I know Dawn would say, maybe I'll turn it over, is we're looking for places in the borough, in the street right away, between the sidewalk and the curb, to plant some new trees. We have about 20 or 25 that's unspoken for, that we're trying to find homes for sometime this spring. Anything else?
That's correct, Ralph. The only thing I would add is the tree and the planting itself is free. The only thing we ask the resident to do is water the tree for at least through the summer and the fall, the first year. So anyone that is looking for a shade tree in the right-of-way, please contact the borough and let us know.
I have a question.
Sure.
What kind of trees are they?
Maples.
They're all maples. Okay, thank you.
Good question, though. They try to try to pick out a species that's healthy and that's salt resistant and that kind of thing. Union Cemetery Association, just for clarification, we do not own the Union Cemetery, although if it does go into default under that borough code I mentioned in the work session, we would have to take it over. So we have been assisting the Cemetery Association as much as we can under the borough code, financially, labor, supervisor-wise. We try to provide for it with the hopes that they do not fold, they do not, hang it up, so to speak, and turn it over to the borough. So there seems to be some new efforts. There is some new efforts, so we're optimistic that can get back on track with maintenance and repair of some of the older stones and a lot of attention that needs to be done out there. Authorities, council appointed, of course, the minutes are there from the Borough Authority meeting, again, primarily water and sewer related. The Airport Authority meeting, Doug Johnson, Councilmember Johnson goes to both these meetings. The minutes are there. If you would have any questions, I'll stop just for a moment in case you do, because Mr. Johnson's with us. Hearing none, I will continue on, but if you do, we can answer them at future meetings. Commissions, council appointed. The only report is the Spring Creek Watershed Commission. There's a set of minutes there from the recent commission meeting. I will say sometimes, as you may notice or you'll see, and Gina kind of referenced it, we're going to be lagging sometimes with meetings. By the time we get our deadline and our agenda together, we may not have the set of minutes back. So you might be getting, say, at the February meeting, you might be seeing January's information. It's just how we're going to have to do it, lag a little bit. If there's something urgent, we'll bring that to your attention. Special committees and council appointed meetings, fire exec meeting, Mr. Brackville goes to those meetings.
The only thing I have to add on that is that meeting's canceled, determined they're not gonna have a quorum for that meeting, so they just canceled it. So that was what I wanted to throw in there.
Thank you. Center Region COG Public Safety meeting is another Mr. Brackville meeting. Nothing that we know. I don't think there's anything on the horizon. Workplace Safety meets once a month. So you'll always see the minutes, and we started it for a couple reasons. We wanted to emphasize workplace safety, and then they do help with the workers' comp premiums if you're a certified board or certified committee. So we try to maintain that certification. The Musser Lane activity, the access policy will have a meeting what would be tomorrow at 1, and the members of council are listed there, so we'll meet and go over how this process might work and hopefully bring back something for the next meeting. I'm sorry.
Meeting in person or is it virtual?
I didn't recall setting it up. I didn't go through, probably went through our staff to set it up. If you want to.
We can set it up. We can set it up either way.
We can set it up either.
Because I had responded to Alyssa that I'm flexible either way. It's
Okay.
just never been nailed down which
Okay.
format we're using.
We'll set up either way, like we've done that. If people want to meet here, so be it. If you want, and then if you want to just meet by Zoom, we'll send a link out.
All right, great,
Let me
thank
make
you.
a note here.
And then on that meeting tomorrow, Ms. Cedric wasn't able to make that, but if you can give us your hours that you'd be available, and then we try to
I
next
did.
few
Yeah, I did, but
I didn't. Well, I saw it on the calendar, but I guess we just picked the ones that had the most people there.
You picked the
But if
one
you can-
time I can't do it.
If you're better off with evening hours, then I think we can adjust to that. We're trying to keep everything in real, during the business hours, but if we can't, we can
Later
go
in the day,
outside.
later in the day usually would be better.
Like after 6 or 6 to 7. something
Even
like
4 or later.
that. Okay. We'll keep that in mind for tomorrow.
Okay.
Looking on down the list, the MPO meeting, which Mr. Johnson was at, I believe, maybe left it early, but that's where he was. Anything of urgency, Mr. Johnson, that you'd like to report from the MPO meeting?
We did get an increase in funding, and they did some rearranging of the tip. But other than that, no. We're good.
Thank you. Thank you. I believe that's all we have as far as the reports. Just trying to, since we're trying to get used to the new format, I thought we'd spend a couple minutes talking about it and going over them, but I think we're off to a pretty good start.
So if you get a chance, when you look over the reports, if you have a question, just keep it and then bring it up at the meeting when we go through the reports as we just did, and see where that takes us. Okay. If there's no other questions on reports, we'll move on to.
Can I ask a question about a report that we already covered? Yeah. Mr. Brooks, and when I'm looking at your code enforcement report, is it 4,859 properties that you inspected last month?
Sure.
It was like 5 degrees a couple of days last month. You have to go outside to do these?
I'm in a vehicle.
That's a lot of inspections, and it says here they were all routine, so they were all self-generated. You went out and inspected those on your own. You had 3 complaints, 24 emails, and the rest of that was all self-initiated code enforcement work that you did. It's just you. You don't have a partner, a deputy, a clerk,
Me, myself, and I.
a canine, nothing.
We give them-
4,859 incidents that man handled last month. It was 5 degrees half of the month.
You heard we give him a car.
Oh, yeah. 8 more, he gets a car?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, we'll be looking forward to next month then. I just wanted to make sure I was reading that right, Mr. President. Thank you.
Any other questions regarding reports? Okay, seeing none, let's attempt to go to the current and old business.
Yeah, so I can go over this. Of course, this is the LERTA ordinance. Our goal was to have the draft from our solicitor here. There was a question, or really the main question, I think, was people who have not started their project but may have gotten a building permit wanted to know about retroactive or them being counted. The concept is you have nothing, you come in, you talk to us, and then you go get your building permit. We agree on your project, your scope, and we can even get an assessment number all up front. That's the concept. But some people have maybe got a building permit, say in December, but wasn't planning to start the project till spring. They would like to take advantage of the program. So that's really what the solicitor was researching. Of course, we said we wanted to go borough-wide. I don't think that's an issue, but I conveyed that to the solicitor from our hearing at the last meeting. I would ask council to approve the draft pending any comments being incorporated into the final draft from the borough solicitor, so that once that hits our email or whatever, we can put a cover letter on it and send it over to Center County government and the school district and start that discussion and try to get their approval for the same identical ordinance.
Okay, so right now, what I had here was to call for a motion to approve the draft and to have staff contact the county and school district regarding their participation in adoption. So we need to change that to.
Just a slight change that we would incorporate any conditions or comments from the borough solicitor into that final draft prior to sending it over to the county and the school district.
So can we just have this as a conditional approval?
Yes.
Of the
I'm
draft?
hoping, yes, that way we don't have to wait 2 more weeks. As I say, there's, as soon as we get that draft, and if there is any comments, we tell the solicitor to incorporate them, then we send it over to the other 2 taxing bodies.
Okay, so we're doing this off the cuff. I'll call for a motion to conditionally approve the draft of the LERTA program, the LERTA ordinance, in regards to any additions made by our attorney or
Perfect,
solicitor.
perfect.
I'll make that motion.
Deb Clayton makes that motion.
I'll second it, Vicki.
Keane seconds. Okay, any other discussion on that? We're trying to beat that around before we get the motion. It worked. Okay, if that's the case, then I'll call for approval to conditionally approve the LERTA draft with the attorney's changes or additions, and be ready to send that then to the government and county government and school district. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thanks. Next item, we mentioned this a moment ago, or when we were talking about this tree plantings. If you are interested in this new street tree, see Dawn or call the borough office, and we'll be in touch. Happy to try to get a street tree planted for you this spring. Next item is just an update report. I know it's very lengthy if you had a chance to look at it, but in the back pages, it references the Railroad Street Bridge. That is in the borough. It is a borough-owned bridge. The county went out and got a grant with a bundle of bridges around the county to replace these bridges. And ours happens to be one of those. So that's why there's 3 or 4 other bridges mixed in that report. But we're slowly working through the engineering, the permitting, and we attend periodic meetings with PennDOT and the county and their engineering people, contracted engineering people, and they'll be bidding out, I think, this spring, ideally to do this bridge, and then the construction will start at some point. So as I get these reports, I'll just put them in under old business, current business, so you know that that's a project. The last item, Crawford Lane Speed Study, we talked about that. We talked about it in the work session, but I wanted to list it here as an action item in case there was an official motion or action item council wanted to take. I think the consensus was to try to look at some additional enforcement and paint when the weather's better, paint the stop bar and move the stop sign, which we certainly can take. If you want to take that as a motion, we could do that.
Okay.
Stop bars, that's the white
Line?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. They don't have those out on Crawford Avenue?
So how we want to pose that motion then? Call for a motion to take action to recommend that we apply a painted bar at the stop sign to show what it does,
Yes,
right?
yes, and relocate the stop
And
sign
relocate
closer to the intersection.
Relocate the stop sign closer to the intersection.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it, please.
Okay. So all those in favor of the motion to paint the bar line and move the stop sign closer to the intersection, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries.
Thank you. Let's turn the
Go
page
to
here.
New
Turn to
business.
new business. You want me to?
I can run down through it, yeah.
Okay.
Community Development Block Grant, CDBG application, hearing presentation is scheduled. No council actions required on that. Don, you have anything that you want to add on that?
No, the letter from CEDACOG is self-explanatory on the dates and times.
Okay. Then the next item would be ordinance number 22-22022-01. That's an amendment to Chapter 455, Sewage Disposal, Local Limits. This ordinance is related to wastewater pretreatment limits developed by the U.S. EPA for the Bellefonte wastewater treatment plant. These local limits are updated every 5 years. Each municipality and authority must update and adopt a corresponding ordinance and resolution respectively. And I'll call for a motion and second to update and adopt the ordinance number 022222022-01.
I'll make that
Almost
motion.
started singing the song. Okay, we have a motion.
I can throw in a couple of sentences. Basically, US EPA governs the pretreatment process, not DEP. I don't know why that is, but they tell industries what can be total accumulated going into the plant. So we take our list of industries and get those limits out to everybody. The municipalities must update their ordinances. The authorities involved, like Spring, Benner, Walker, and our borough authority, they don't have ordinances. They have to do resolutions. So, you know, every township does an ordinance, and the borough does an ordinance. The authorities do resolutions, and this is just part of the update. Do you want to add anything, Julie, or anything we missed, or?
I don't think so. I guess if you're on council for a little while, you'll probably see another one of these, because they're updated every 5 years. And it's based on all the data from the filter plant, the flows, and all of the lab reporting, so.
Okay, thank you. Any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion to adopt the ordinance numbers 022222022-01 in relation to wastewater pretreatment limits developed by the U.S. EPA for the Bellefonte wastewater treatment plant. Local limits are updated every 5 years. Each municipality and authority must update and adopt a corresponding ordinance, and which is what we're doing with this motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
The next is a proposed new goal for the list, and that would be to evaluate parking fees, metered parking fees, and time enforcement, modify times of enforcement, and adding this on the list for the first meeting in March. It would be 3/7/2022. But anyway, it's just a matter of what I'll do is I'll call for a motion and second to to approve this additional item for the proposed goal list.
I'll make that motion for a year.
I'll second it, Clayton.
Discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor of adding the evaluation of the metered parking fees and time enforcement and modify the times of enforcement, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have a list of street paving contract from Public Works Street Departments. You had information in your packet based on wards and the streets. So I'll call for a motion and second to approve the street paving in order by wards.
I'll make that motion.
Clayton.
I'll second. Dan?
Discussion?
Were any of the roadways on the list left over from last year that didn't get completed, or was everything on last year's list done?
Well, that's a good question. I think we'll have to look back and see if we did delete and move things around to fit under the budget. We never do a complete street, but there might have been a section or two that we took off to meet our budget. But we always reprioritize, you know, maybe there's a street that's worse than the street we took off, but we can double check that.
I just wondered what the sequence of events was. If something doesn't get done in year one, does it go to the top of the list for the next year, or does it get put in line with basically a triage system? And look
I
at
would
the
say
worst one?
most of the time, but the triage, if you find something that's worse, it works its way to the top of the
Okay.
list. But we certainly keep track of what's done year to year.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor to approve the street paving in order by wards, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. This next item is a deadline for council agenda and materials. The purpose of it is in order to improve our efforts to list all action items and to include items for review in advance of the meeting as much as possible. Staff is recommending that, this is Bellefonte staff, is recommending that Bellefonte set a deadline for receiving these items for noon on Thursday preceding the council work session and the business meeting. So with that, I will call for a motion and second to establish council agenda materials deadline for noon on the Thursday preceding the council work session and business meetings. Do I have that motion? Mr. Veneer.
A second, Dan.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, and we'll start
Okay.
that process, I guess, send out a notice to people.
We'll put a note on our website and try to get the word out.
Okay. The next item are some work session agenda items that we started putting on there because planning's coming up, so we wanted to cover the ornamental plantings in the borough right-of-way. We also want to start talking about the short-term rental ordinance.
We're gonna bump that to the 21st meeting, or the second meeting of the month, because Ms. Thompson's away that early part,
That's 3/21.
so, yeah.
And then the NVJR to provide a 20-minute update. Is that at the next meeting?
This is our second meeting, just because of scheduling. But real quick, we'll have some information on the special event permitting process for this work session.
Okay. Okay, so no other actions needed in this.
I
Bob?
mean, you could add, we could bring Pannoni in about the Zion Road if we have
Yeah.
time to, maybe 30 minutes or whatever.
Yes, that would be timely as we get into the spring, and we want to give you some background information. It's a stormwater issue in Parkview Heights. We think PennDOT, helped at least increase the problem when they expanded Zion Road. But we went here a year or so ago, we brought on an engineering firm to help us figure out where this problem started, who's at fault, and so on. So we have yet to schedule a time to review that information. So that would be the purpose of this work session, or a portion of the work
Well,
session.
is that the first meeting?
Yes, I think we could try to schedule.
We could ask them,
Yeah.
Randy.
Yeah, whichever, just let me know. And
Yep.
schedule. Okay. No other new business on the agenda. The next item is public comment regarding items not on the agenda. Are there any comments? After the meeting, council will be having an executive session to talk about real estate matters. It says an executive session relating to real estate matter may be held following the adjournment of the council meeting. Okay, so with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
A motion, second?
Second.
Okay, we have adjourned at 8:37.
That's 2 months in a row I make a motion to end the meeting. Now people are gonna start noticing I'm not here.
Doug, we'll call you on your cell phone.